Most people will start today exactly the way they start every Monday. The alarm, the coffee, the scroll through everything that accumulated over the weekend, the slow re-entry into the week's demands, the particular quality of Monday that asks nothing of you except that you show up and begin moving through the familiar structure again. And for most people, that is exactly what will happen today. The week will begin. The routine will reassert itself. And by Tuesday, they will have no idea that something significant moved through their life on Monday without being received. I want to make sure that does not happen to you, because August 17th is not a normal Monday. Not because something dramatic is announced in the sky, nothing so loud that it would interrupt your regular morning, but because three forces are active today simultaneously, and the combination of what they are doing and the specific tension between them creates conditions that are rare, genuinely useful, and available for less time than you think. The three forces are these. Venus is in a sextile with Jupiter today, which is one of the most generous signals the sky produces. Mercury is in a trine with Saturn, which is the specific aspect that takes something beautiful and gives it structure solid enough to actually last. And Mars is in a square with Neptune, which is the aspect that blurs momentum, creates confusion about direction, and makes the most common mistake of a Monday, running on autopilot, significantly more likely and significantly more costly. Two of these work in your favor today in ways that are unusual. One of them is working against you in ways most people will not notice until the opportunity that was available has already passed. And the way they interact with each other is the thing I want to spend real time explaining, because the interaction is where the actual significance of today lives. Let me start with the one that is working against you, because I think understanding the obstacle first is more useful than starting with the gift. Mars square Neptune is one of the more confusing astrological aspects there is. Not confusing to understand, confusing to live inside of. And that confusion is its primary mechanism, which is why naming it clearly is the first and most important thing to do on a day when it is active. Mars is the planet of action, of direction, of the specific energy that knows what it wants and moves toward it. Mars is not subtle. Mars is not patient. Mars is the part of you that says this is the direction and begins moving without waiting for every uncertainty to be resolved. When Mars is functioning cleanly, you know what you are going for and you go for it. The path may not be completely clear, but the direction is, and that is enough. Neptune is the planet of dissolution, of the blurring of edges, of the place where things that seem distinct and separate begin to merge into each other in ways that are sometimes beautiful and sometimes disorienting. Neptune governs fog, literally, the kind that makes it impossible to see where you are going, even when the destination is close. Neptune also governs imagination, the deepest idealism, the highest spiritual frequency. But Neptune operating in conflict with Mars is not the beautiful side. It is the fog side. When these two square each other, what happens is specific and worth naming carefully. The clarity of direction that Mars normally provides gets clouded. Not eliminated, clouded, which is worse in some ways than eliminated, because a cloudiness of direction is much harder to recognize as a problem than a complete absence of direction. When you have no idea where you are going, you stop. When you have a blurry idea of where you are going, you keep moving. But you keep moving in a way that lacks the precision and the specific intentionality that produces real results. What this looks like in practice today is this. You may feel a pull in a direction without being entirely sure the pull is genuinely yours. You may make a decision based on something that feels like certainty, but that, on examination, turns out to be something closer to wishful thinking. You may feel a surge of motivation that dissipates without producing anything concrete because the motivation was real, but the direction was unclear. You may find yourself going through the motions of working towards something without being fully convinced, underneath the motion, that the something is actually what you want to be working toward. This is Mars square Neptune. And on a Monday, when the default mode of operating is already somewhat automatic, the combination is particularly potent. Because Monday autopilot plus Mars-Neptune fog equals a day where a lot of energy is expended and very little of it lands in the places that actually matter. There is something else worth naming about Mars square Neptune that I think is specific to where most people are right now, coming off the intensity of the last week. An eclipse, a triple convergence, multiple significant alignments, all of that takes something from the system even when it gives more than it takes. There is a quality of energetic depletion that can follow a period of high intensity, even a positive one. And Mars square Neptune is particularly good at amplifying exactly that quality. So you may notice today a heaviness that does not quite have a reason. A reluctance to begin that does not correspond to how you actually feel about what you are beginning. A kind of existential flatness that sits underneath the surface of an otherwise functional day. This is not a sign that something is wrong. It is Mars-Neptune making the residual depletion of a significant week feel louder than it actually is. The specific trap this sets is the temptation to treat the flatness as information about your direction. To look at the heaviness of starting something today and conclude that the something is not right, rather than that the heaviness is a temporary condition being amplified by a square. When Mars-Neptune is active, feelings that are about the present condition of your energy get misread as information about your future direction. The tiredness of today becomes the evidence that the thing you were excited about last week was not actually right for you. It is almost never that. It is almost always the fog. The reason I am starting here is not to alarm you. It is because Venus, sextile Jupiter, and Mercury trine Saturn, the two highly positive aspects also active today, are only accessible to people who are operating with enough awareness to not be fully captured by the Mars-Neptune fog. And the first step to not being captured by a fog is knowing the fog is there. Now let me tell you about Venus sextile Jupiter, because this is the one I think most people who pay attention today will feel without necessarily knowing why they are feeling it. And feeling it without understanding it is a partial reception of something that deserves a fuller one. Venus sextile Jupiter is widely considered one of the most pleasant and generative aspects in the astrological calendar. Not the most dramatic, not the most transformative, the most generous. It is the aspect that astrologers consistently describe as the universe in its most giving mode. Not giving in the abstract, in terms of vague positive energy. Giving in terms of specific signals, specific intuitions, specific moments of connection and opportunity that carry a quality that feels different from ordinary coincidence. What Venus governs is worth understanding deeply today because it is directly relevant to what this aspect delivers. Venus is not just romance and beauty in the decorative sense. Venus governs what you desire genuinely, what you are worth. What kind of exchange feels fair and nourishing versus what kind of exchange leaves you depleted. Venus governs the specific intelligence of attraction, which is a real form of intelligence, even if it is not always treated as one. The sense that something belongs in your life, that something is right for you, that something is moving toward you that you want to move toward. That intelligence is Venusian. Jupiter in sextile with Venus today is expanding that intelligence, making it louder, more audible above the noise of the usual cognitive chatter. And a sextile specifically is not a forceful aspect. It does not impose itself. It offers. It creates an opening and makes something available within that opening, but only to people who are present enough to notice the opening and move into it. This is the key phrase for today's Venus-Jupiter aspect. It offers. It does not announce. It does not make itself unmissable. It places something in your path in the specific, quiet way that genuine gifts tend to arrive. Not with fireworks, but with a quality of fit, a quality of recognition. What might this look like today in actual experience? A conversation that produces a sense of something clicking in a way that was not expected. An introduction that feels immediately significant in a way you cannot quite explain. An idea that arrives not as something you constructed through deliberate thinking, but as something that simply appeared, complete, in a moment of quiet. A sense of something being right, in the specific territory of what you want and who you are, that is clearer today than it was last week. It might also look like news. Literal news, in the sense of a message or a response or an answer to something you have been waiting on that arrives today carrying a quality of relief and rightness that goes beyond the content of the message itself. It might look like a twist of fate, something unexpected that, once it has happened, feels less like accident and more like it was always going to happen this way. The thing that arrives not from the direction you were watching, and that turns out to be better than what you were watching for. But here is the part that connects directly back to the Mars-Neptune fog. All of these things, the conversation, the idea, the news, the unexpected turn, they require you to be present enough to receive them. Venus-Jupiter does not force itself past distraction. It makes something available. And if today is the Monday, you move through on autopilot, running the week's demands through the autopilot of Mars-Neptune confusion, the available thing passes by without being received. This is what most people will miss today. Not because it does not arrive, because they are not present enough to notice it arriving. And I want to add something about what Venus-Jupiter specifically does that is different from every other generous aspect in the astrological calendar. Venus-Jupiter in sextile does not just bring good things. It brings the specific good things that correspond to what you have been genuinely, honestly wanting. Not what you have been telling yourself you should want, what you actually want. There is a difference between these two categories that is worth taking seriously. The things people tell themselves they should want are the reasonable, practical, well-justified versions of a desire. The desire edited down to fit the parameters of what seems achievable and appropriate. These are the things people put in their goals and plans. Venus-Jupiter is not particularly interested in them. Venus-Jupiter is interested in the other list, the things you want when you stop editing. When you allow yourself to actually feel the full weight of the wanting rather than managing it down to a manageable size. The desires that have a quality of aliveness that the reasonable want list does not produce. The ones that feel slightly too large or slightly too specific or slightly too clearly yours to comfortably admit to in most conversations. Today that list gets a hearing. The universe in its Venus-Jupiter mode is specifically interested in what is on that list and is creating the conditions under which something from it can actually arrive. Pay attention this morning. Pay attention in the specific way that is different from your usual Monday attention. Not the attention that is scanning for what needs to be done and how to do it efficiently. The attention that is open to what is being offered that does not look like what needs to be done. And now Mercury trines Saturn, which is where today gets genuinely interesting. Because this aspect does something that the other two do not do. It does not just create conditions, it creates permanence. It is the aspect that makes things last. Mercury trine Saturn is one of the most underappreciated aspects in astrology. It is not dramatic. It does not produce the kind of expansive euphoria that Venus-Jupiter produces or the kind of tense energy that Mars-Neptune generates. What it produces is more subtle and, I would argue, more valuable than either of those things. It produces the specific quality of communication and thinking that can withstand reality. Mercury governs how you think and how you express what you think. Saturn governs the test of time. What is solid? What is enduring? What can actually stand up to the pressure of real circumstances rather than only existing in the ideal conditions of a protected interior? When Mercury trines Saturn, the gap between what you can express and what is actually true narrows. The words that come out of you carry more weight than usual. Not because you are saying more impressive things, but because what you are saying is more grounded, more honest, more connected to what you actually know rather than what you hope is the case or what you think should be the case. This matters enormously in the context of today, because Venus-Jupiter is creating the opening for something beautiful, and Mars-Neptune is creating the fog that could lead you to either miss it or misread it. And Mercury-Saturn is the specific tool that allows you to receive what Venus-Jupiter is offering and then ground it into something real rather than letting it remain as a beautiful feeling that does not produce any change. Here is a practical way to understand this. Venus-Jupiter today may produce an insight, a connection, an idea, an opportunity. And the most common response to a Venus-Jupiter moment, which produces a feeling of expansion and rightness, and this is good, is to enjoy the feeling and not quite complete the step that would make the feeling consequential. To receive the inspiration without doing the thing that would allow the inspiration to change anything. Mercury trine Saturn today is the aspect that closes that gap. It is the energy that makes the commitment real. That writes the message rather than feeling the desire to write the message. That makes the plan concrete rather than keeping it beautiful in the imagination. That says the true thing out loud rather than feeling that it is true and then not saying it. The combination of Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury, Saturn on the same day is genuinely rare and genuinely useful. It is the specific combination of generous opening and grounding capacity that produces the kind of day where something beautiful can also become something real, where a promising beginning can also become a solid foundation, where the intuition about what is right can also become the decision that acts on that intuition, but only if you are awake enough for Mars-Neptune not to steal the day. Let me describe the specific thing most people will miss today, because I want to make this as concrete and recognizable as possible. Somewhere in your day today, probably in a moment that does not feel particularly significant while it is happening, something will be offered. It will not be loud. It will not be labeled as important. It will arrive in the quiet space between things, in a pause in the routine, in a thought that comes from somewhere you are not actively looking, in a moment of conversation that takes an unexpected turn. And the offer will be specific to you. I cannot tell you what form it will take because it depends entirely on where you are in your life right now, what you have been working toward, what question has been most active in you, what you have been most hoping to receive. But I can tell you how to recognize it. It will have the specific quality of fit that Venus-Jupiter produces. The sense of this is right in a way that feels more certain than your usual assessments of rightness. Not certainty that was reasoned toward. Certainty that arrived. The kind that bypasses the deliberating mind and speaks directly to the part of you that simply knows. Most people will miss this for one of three reasons. The first is Mars-Neptune fog. They are moving through today on autopilot, their attention captured by the week's demands and the familiar structure of the Monday routine, and the quiet offered thing passes through their awareness without being caught. The second is distraction of the wrong kind. Not the ordinary busyness of the day, but the specific distraction of confusion about what they are actually going for. Mars square Neptune creates a situation where energy is present but directionless. And a person whose energy is diffuse, who is trying to move in too many directions at once, or who is not sure which direction is genuinely theirs, is not available to receive a specific thing that is being specifically offered. The offer requires a quality of interior stillness that directionless energy does not produce. The third is the habit of waiting for something bigger. The offered thing today will not feel like a revelation when it arrives. It will feel like a good thing, a promising thing, a thing worth paying attention to. And people who have been waiting for the version of their breakthrough that looks like a revelation will move past the thing that looks like a good development because it does not match the image of what they have been waiting for. None of these is a character flaw. They are all entirely understandable responses to the conditions of a normal Monday, which is exactly why I started this video by saying today is not a normal Monday. Understanding why changes how you move through it. So what does paying attention today actually look like? I want to be specific about this because I think the instruction to pay attention can sound active and effortful in a way that is actually not what today requires. Paying attention today looks like slowing down slightly in the first half of the day. Not dramatically, not abandoning the week's demands, but approaching the first several hours of today with a quality of pace that is a little more deliberate than Monday speed usually allows. The thing that Venus-Jupiter is offering will not arrive in the rush. It will arrive in the pause. Create a pause this morning, even a small one. 10 minutes without the phone. A walk between tasks rather than immediately beginning the next one. A moment of genuine quiet between the alarm and the beginning of the day. Something that creates a small space in the structure of the Monday where the offered thing has somewhere to arrive. Pay attention to what thoughts arrive in that space. Not the thoughts you create by deliberately thinking about your problems or plans. The thoughts that show up without being invited. That arrive complete rather than partially formed. That have a quality of being slightly outside the usual territory of your Monday thinking. Pay attention to unexpected contact. Someone reaching out who was not expected. A message that takes a different direction than the usual ones. An encounter that produces a sense of something being significant before you have had time to analyze why. These are Venus-Jupiter working through the relational channel. Pay attention to your body's response to things. On a day with this level of Venusian energy combined with Mars-Neptune fog, the body often knows before the mind does. A specific quality of ease or aliveness when you are thinking about or engaging with a particular thing, in contrast with a flatness or depletion when you are engaging with something else. The body today is a more reliable guide than the mind because Venus-Jupiter speaks through the somatic layer and Mars-Neptune primarily confuses the cognitive one. And when you notice something that has the quality of rightness, of fit, of this is the direction, use Mercury-Saturn to do something about it. Write it down. Make the commitment while the clarity is present. Say the thing while the courage is available. Take the step while the certainty is alive. Because Mercury-Saturn today is the aspect that makes what is true in the moment also true next week. That grounds the felt knowing into something the practical world can receive and respond to. I want to spend a moment on what this particular combination of energies is most relevant to right now in the context of the last 10 days. Because I think today does not exist in isolation, and pretending it does would be missing half of what makes it significant. The eclipse on August 12th, the triple convergence on August 13th, the Mercury-Jupiter peak on August 14th, the Venus peak and Mercury-Jupiter exact on August 15th, all of it has been moving in a direction. The direction is this. Something in you has been shifting from the performed version of your life toward the actual one. From the managed, careful, appropriately sized version toward the one that is more genuinely what you want and who you are. And that shift, over the last 10 days, has been primarily internal. Internal clarity arriving. Internal permission being granted. Internal direction becoming clearer. The eclipse and the convergence and the alignments have all been doing their work primarily at the level of the interior. Today, August 17th, is the Monday when that interior work starts producing exterior results, when the clarity becomes a conversation, when the direction becomes a step, when the shift in the internal structure becomes visible as a change in how you are engaging with the world outside you. Venus-Jupiter creates the opening in the external world for the interior shift to meet something real. Mercury-Saturn gives you the communicative tools to make that meeting solid. And Mars-Neptune is the specific challenge of this particular day. The fog that Monday and the square will generate that you need to stay alert enough to navigate rather than simply drift through. The people who are in a different position by the end of August are the people who use today to externalize what the last 10 days shifted internally. Who take the thing that became clearer last week and let it become an actual change in how they show up in the world this week. That is what is moving on August 17th. Not invisibly, not above the level of ordinary life, but precisely through it. Through the conversation you have, the message you send, the commitment you make, the step you take. Through the ordinary material of a Monday that is being crossed by extraordinary planetary conditions that make the ordinary capable of producing the extraordinary. Let me close with something I want to say about the quality of today that I have not yet named directly. There is a specific kind of day that feels, afterward, like it mattered more than it seemed to while it was happening. Where you go to bed and something feels different from how it felt when you woke up. Not because anything dramatic occurred, but because something was received that changed the internal landscape in a way that the next several weeks will make visible. August 17th has the conditions to be that kind of day. Not for everyone. For the people who are present enough to let what is being offered today actually arrive. Who are not so captured by the Mars-Neptune fog that the Venus-Jupiter gift passes without being caught. Who use Mercury-Saturn to make something real from what Venus-Jupiter makes available. The most common Monday mistake is deciding in advance that nothing significant will happen, and then moving through the day in a way that ensures nothing significant does. Today, the advanced decision you make before the day fully begins determines whether you are in the group that receives what is moving or the group that moves through the day without noticing it. And I want to say this directly. The fog of Mars-Neptune today is specifically designed, if a planetary aspect can be said to be designed, to make you feel like nothing significant is available. Like today is just another Monday. Like the extraordinary week you just experienced is behind you and now ordinary life has resumed. That feeling is the square talking. It is not accurate information about today. It is the fog presenting itself as clarity. The way through the fog is not to fight it. Fighting Mars-Neptune fog with more effort is exactly what the fog wants. The way through it is to do less, to slow down, to give less of today to the demanding and more of it to the offered. To let Venus-Jupiter find you rather than running so fast in the direction of the week's demands that the finding never has a chance. You already made the right decision by being here. You are already more present than most people will be today. Now, carry that presence into the actual day, into the first conversation, the first moment of quiet, the first thing that arrives from an unexpected direction. Something is moving on August 17th. Most people will miss it. You do not have to. Write in the comments what you noticed today that felt different from a regular Monday. I read every single one. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The arc that started with the Lion's Gate on August 8th continues through the full moon in Pisces on August 28th. The movement is not finished. I will be here for every step of it.